Welcome everyone to another episode of Get Tech Smart, where I have so much fun exploring new technologies that are out there, that are trending, innovative, and creative. And for this episode, I am beyond excited, extremely excited. I think you probably might recognize my guest once we turn the camera on him. He's well known in New Hampshire, especially in the Manchester, New Hampshire community. So let's go ahead and talk to James McKim. You are the president of the NAACP. You're also a managing partner at Organizational Ignite. And today we're going to talk about digital transformation. And why are we talking about digital transformation? Well, technology is here. And just because it's here, it doesn't mean that it's easy for everyone to adopt and implement. So we're going to learn, whether you are a small business or a big company, we're going to learn the steps that are needed to transform digitally with technology. So let's get right started. I mean, we're seeing a huge shift in the digital transformation. I guess the first thing to do is just kind of explain, what does it mean?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I'm a philosophy major.
Oh,
and
geez.
what they teach us in philosophy is start with, and lawyers talk this way too, start with the definitions.
Yeah.
Make sure you're on the same page. So digital transformation, which has been around for a while, right?
Yep.
This notion of using technology to improve how you do your work. It's been around for ages, but it's lately been coined digital transformation. And it simply means, as I said, let's figure out how we're going to use technology to improve how we do our work. And improve can be in terms of speed. Improve can be looked at in terms of quality. Can be looked at in terms of ease of doing the work. And it's not a replacement for the work, but it's using technology to assist in doing the work.
Yeah. And assist is a key word, because let's just be honest here. When people hear technology, there are people who say, you want a machine or some type of a tech to come in and take over my job.
Take my job, right.
Because we have artificial intelligence, we have automation, there's robotics as well. There's so much going on. But how can people kind of have a mind change about what tech is? This is not a replacement, it's an assistance. How can we kind of convince people to realize is that tech is here to help, not replace?
Right. So for some folks, we need to start with what is tech?
Yeah.
Right? Back to the definition. So technology is really any tool that can help us to accomplish a task. So we can think of technology as hardware, a computer that has a keyboard, has a monitor. That's technology. We can think of technology as software, the knowledge that a system has about what should be done, about what it should do, what its components should do. So when we're thinking about how technology can help us, we think about things like, yes, computers in an office space, where we have some paper we have to push, some forms we need to get filled in. Well, there's technology that allows people to fill in those forms very easily and sometimes answer some of the questions for us. But we're still in control of that.
Yeah.
We should be still in control of that. And that's what, there's an interesting dynamic here that with artificial intelligence, a lot of companies are trying to build into technology, into hardware, the smarts to read who we are and answer a lot of questions for us, which can be good in some cases, but we really still need to be in control of that, because computers don't have all the answers. AI does not, artificial intelligence doesn't really know everything about us and what might have changed lately. But there's also the hardware technology. We have things like self-driving cars now.
Yeah.
Right? And that's technology that helps us to not have to pay attention to the road all the time. We can be doing other things, right? So technology is a broad term, really, and it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. We have to acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
Technology in the wrong hands can be a detriment to personal safety and to society.
Yeah.
Another thing that I talk about, though, is technology is built by humans, and we humans are biased. So technology can also be biased, which is not something that many people think about, but it's a danger that we have to be cognizant of, and as users of technology, and
Right.
it's something that we have to know about, and it's what makes people sometimes not want to use technology, because they think it's not going to be fair to me, it's going to do something that I don't like, or is going to harm me, or I'm going to do something to it. We were talking earlier about, I'm afraid I'm going to push a button
Yeah.
and shut down the system or erase the
Yeah.
data
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah, and no, I mean, you bring up so many good points, and I think right now in the tech sector, especially when it comes to AI, there's still a lot of unknowns.
Right.
There's still a lot of questions about risk. I mean, we can go down the list, especially with like biometrics and the
Yes.
biases and potential discriminations with it. And yeah, that might deter some people from wanting to implement certain technologies. But I mean, right now there's so much tech that's out there.
Mhm.
And sometimes some companies will get tech not because it fits their organization, because they're hearing another organization is
right.
using the latest and hottest thing. And then there's this fear of missing out.
Yes. Yes.
But the stats are actually showing that for companies that are implementing tech, there is actually some high failure rates right now.
Right. Right. Right.
How can we change that failure into success? What are the steps that companies need to take before they even purchase the technology?
Great question. So first of all, this is what we call the shiny object effect.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We see the shiny technology and we think, oh, it's great, we have to have it.
Right.
So you really need to first evaluate what your needs are as a business, as an organization. Understand how you operate. Technology in general assumes a certain way of doing things.
Right.
And if you don't understand what your way is that works for you, that technology is going to overwrite the way that you do things, your processes, your policies and procedures. So first of all, understand what your processes are and make sure they are as efficient as possible. You know all the inputs and outputs, all the stakeholders. You've done a real good job of understanding what your workflow is. And then be careful about what technology that you apply. So as you said, there's so much technology out there. Chances are that there are multiple products that will kind of do the job.
Right.
But don't just expect that you're going to get a COTS custom commercial off-the-shelf package
Right.
that will do everything you need. So go into it with the mindset of, all right, so that software, that technology has some base functionality, some base features and functionality. But I need to make sure that it is customized for my specific organization, which means you're entertaining a project.
Yeah.
And projects require project management. So you need to think of buying a technology as this is a project that's going to involve how my organization operates. I'm not just going to bring it in and start using it, but I need to understand, so where are the places where I can use this technology, and where are the places I can't use this technology? And where are the places that I can customize this technology to meet my needs?
Right. And is it scalable?
And is it scalable? As you grow as a business, we know organizations grow. They don't, and the world doesn't stay the same. So the technology that you may install one day and customize and it works perfectly today,
Right.
tomorrow might not work because the business changes, because nature changes, because people change.
Right. And yeah, I mean, there's a whole process that you've got to go through before you can even, grab the shopping cart and
Right, yes.
roll off and go buy the tech.
Right.
And the other thing that I normally say when I talk about digital transformation is it's not a Band-Aid. So if you have bad business processes
Yes.
and you have bad workflows, now is not the time to bring in new tech. You've got to get your workflows together. Can we talk about
Yeah,
that?
so this is so, I say the same thing. In fact,
Yeah.
what I say is, if you have a bad process, technology will make you fail faster.
Yeah.
Because the technology is going to automate some of that work, and the processes are what it's going to automate. So we need to, as you said, and we talked about, you have to really be clear on, are your processes already correct? Are your policies and procedures already correct? You have the checks and balances in place so that if something does go wrong, you know it,
Right.
and then can figure out, so where do we need to fix? Is it the technology or is it the person?
Right. Yeah.
Because we know that there's user error as well. Sometimes users don't really know how to use the technology. And this comes back to your question about how do we prepare for the technology. Training has to be a part of this. Make sure that before you actually put this technology in place, the people who are going to use it get trained on it.
Yeah.
Get trained how to use it properly and know where to go if they're having problems with it. Many systems will have help built into it, and make sure you teach people how to use that help. And that comes back to also what you can do to make sure that you're choosing the right technology is you develop a list of criteria
Yeah.
that you can evaluate the different technology solutions out there against to make sure that you're getting the functionality and the features that you need for your organization.
What do you think is probably the number one question that our organization should ask before they even get tech? Besides, do I need this? You know, I guess.
The number one question you should ask is probably, as we talked about, are your processes and procedures what they need to be?
Right.
First and foremost.
What solution is this tool
Right.
going to solve?
What are your, and we institute change for one of two reasons. One, because there's a problem we need to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, because there's an opportunity we see that
Yeah.
we're not able to tap into. So are you looking for solving a problem? And if so, really understand that problem. Do something like a wishbone analysis to really understand the root cause of your problem. If you're looking for an opportunity, then really define that opportunity. What is it? What do you need to take advantage of that opportunity? Is it technology that you need, or is it people that you need? Technology is not always the solution.
Right.
Right? And as we said, if you implement technology on a bad process, you're going to fail faster. So the people piece of it is so important. Technology shouldn't take away the people piece.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I think probably the other fear that people have is like, let's just take, for example, you know, when you go to Walmart now, you know, you're seeing this whole section, which it's now automated. I go in, I get my stuff, I check myself out. You know, I don't necessarily have to wait in line. You know, another example is Sam's Club, for example. You know, now they have the Scan As You Go app. BJ's does the same thing.
Right.
So there's all this automation, I think, that is scaring people that our jobs are going to be on the line, because now Flo can just walk in, get her stuff, and check herself out.
Right. So this is called the productivity conundrum. Right. There are jobs that technology is taking over, but I think we need to think about, on the flip side, are those jobs that people really wanted to do in the first place?
Right.
Right? And this technology is freeing people up to be more creative, to learn more, to do more, to advance how our society operates. So we see this in manufacturing, where robots now do a lot of the work
Right.
that humans used to need to be able to do, which was dangerous work. But the humans now are being educated to run computers. These are computers and robots that are running. So humans now still need to program those robots, need to make sure those robots are following the correct processes, back to the making sure the processes are right in the first place. But people are now able to make sure that those computers and those machines are doing what they need to do.
Right.
And it's better for people to be doing that. People want to be able to be at that higher level rather than being on the shop floor in that dangerous world, having to actually build things.
Right. So it's a shift, right? So
It's a shift.
it's where there's the automation that the person will get realigned or reassigned somewhere else where they're still needed,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's so much going on, and there's
Mhm.
so many companies that are going through the digital transformation,
Right.
and we chatted a little bit earlier about it. And one company that I have seen, Microsoft has these webinars once in a while, and they had a webinar on digital transformation. And one of the guest speakers said, listen, one of the biggest digital transformation I've seen has been Domino's Pizza.
Mhm.
I mean, if you go to their website now, it's literally like state of the art. Like I order my pizza, I can see where,
The whole
it's like a
process.
supply chain process of
Yes.
who's making it, where it is in the oven. The guy is like, 5 seconds down the street from me. I mean, if a pizza shop can make this incredible transformation, why are we still seeing some resistance with some like big tech companies?
Well, the resistance, I think, is there are a number of reasons. One, technology companies are there to sell their technology. So, and this is what we talked about. You've got experience with Dell, and I've got experience with HP, where research and development is king.
Yeah.
And so all the effort goes into that research and development and into making money, selling to the customer and supporting the customer. Internally, the organization doesn't get that technology. So one is the technology companies want to make money on that technology. That's where they put their energy. So internal adoption doesn't really happen. The second is just we're humans and we resist change with all our might.
Right.
We're not used to it. So we need to have what Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University calls a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That says we know we don't know all the answers, and we know there's always a way to get better, and we embrace the opportunity to get better and not resist change. We don't get comfortable with the way we are. We know that there's a way to do things better, and we want to bring in technology or bring in people. It doesn't have to be technology. Maybe you need to bring in a person who can help us to see, oh, there's a better way of doing this.
Right.
And maybe it's technology that can be a better way, but maybe we need to change the process. We need to change when this person stands here versus standing there.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely a great point. And I think that the companies that are taking the steps that we discussed are, making sure that they look at the processes, making sure that whoever's going to be using the technology is getting the proper and adequate training and help. That way, if anything happens during the process, they can easily just pick up the phone and get the help they need.
Right.
But so the companies that are being successful are actually seeing an increase in profits. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're meeting the needs of their customers in a cost-effective way. When I talk about organizational performance, I love Universalia's definition of organizational performance, which is the balance of efficiency, effectiveness, relevance, and financial viability.
Yeah.
So when you have digital transformation happening, you're really making sure that from an effectiveness standpoint, you're meeting your customers' needs. And full transparency, as you said, for the Domino's folks, customer can see where their pizza is along the way. But efficiency, and this is behind the scenes where people don't see, efficiency allows for resources to be used most effectively. Organizations have limited resources. So how do we use those resources effectively? This is where technology comes in.
Right.
Relevance. If the organization is able to meet the needs of the customer as quickly as possible in the time frame that the customer wants, then that's what relevance is about, along with making sure the features are there that the customer wants. So that's relevance. Financial viability, if you're building your product as efficiently as possible, you have the backing of funders who like the way that you're building your product and servicing your customers and operating, then you're going to have your financial viability as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Productivity, efficiency,
Right.
you're optimizing the tool to help you increase productivity equals money. So it feels like it's a no-brainer, but there's still, a huge struggle. I got an alert on an email from Forbes this morning, and they were just talking about digital transformation and how, it has to also start at the C-suite. You've got to have the people at the top really pushing for this technology and really saying, hey, this is needed. We want you to adopt this tool, implement and using it, right? Because if it's hey guys, we got this new tool, all right, we'll talk to you later. And that culture, that workplace culture is not really, for, hey, we've got all to collaborate and use this. Then you're going to have a few people who are going to use it, and other people who are not. And the investment in this tech, you're not going to see it.
Right. So digital transformation is about enterprise-wide change, enterprise-wide organizational change. And any organizational change does not happen with it being driven from the top, because the day-to-day work of an individual in a company is their priority, unless the senior leadership says, no, this is your priority. Implementing this technological change across the organization. And so it can't be just, well, finance is putting a new accounting system in. That's not digital transformation. Digital transformation is implementing technology that crosses the departments in an organization. It's making those persnickety inter-department connections smooth and automated where possible.
I agree. And like, again, it cannot be you can choose to use this. It definitely has to be something that is implemented. And it starts, again, with the business processes and the training, and it starts at the top. Where the message is being put down to say this is something that's needed. And
that from the top is also reinforced constantly. It's not just the CEO saying, we need to use this technology and then letting it happen. Every week or every time that the CEO communicates with someone about how the organization is going, if you're really doing digital transformation, the CEO should be saying, and we still have this focus on digital transformation. And I want reports from staff on a regular basis about how we're doing with this transformation.
And let's talk about that. You mentioned reports. So a lot of people probably wonder, how do you measure the success of digital transformation? So let's talk about that.
So digital transformation is a means to an end. So part of it is, have we implemented the technology? But the biggest measurement is, do we see an increase in our business in terms of revenue, in terms of increasing customers, whatever, and organizations will have different metrics about to measure how they're doing. But whatever that metric is, if you're doing digital transformation, which applies to everything in the company, then you should see an increase. If you're not seeing an increase in sales, and sales is part of that, then digital transformation is not doing what you want it to do.
And then that point, like, before I even get to that question I was going to ask, I was going to say at that point, what do you do? But how often should there be an analysis of, hey, where are we? Should it be quarterly, yearly? What do you recommend? How often should businesses be looking to see, hey, we just paid, $1 million for this tool. What's our rate of investment?
So what I say is that there's project level reporting, and then there's executive level reporting. So for projects, and project managers know about this because it's what we're trained on. I'm a project management professional, so I eat, drink, sleep this stuff. So do you have weekly project management meetings where you're keeping track of how this implementation of digital transformation is going? I would say that for the C-suite or senior level executives, they should probably be getting a report every time they meet. And they're going to meet at different intervals based on how the organization operates. Hopefully, the senior team is meeting at least once a month.
So stay on top of it.
Stay on top
You
of
got to
it.
stay on top. Yeah, this is not we'll take a look in 2 years' time.
Right, right. And at the senior level, it doesn't have to be a long report. And it can be, well, we're 20% complete, and here are the issues that the senior level needs to help us with. That's a report, right?
Yeah. And, a lot of companies, one of the things, there's budgeting always involved, right? Companies are always budgeting off, hey, for digital transformation. You mentioned earlier that, hey, the technology is constantly changing. Today I can have automated software. Tomorrow, well, they're going to upgrade it and incorporate artificial intelligence to it.
Right.
So that now businesses are probably like, okay, you got to be kidding me here. So how often am I supposed to update this technology?
So this is where the religious wars, as we call them in the tech space, around being in the cloud or software as a service versus being on-premise, on-prem, on platform, and managing your own IT organization to manage the software, and you control when things get updated. If you want, and this is a discussion you have to decide how much IT responsibility you want in your organization. Right? Because if you can say, I want to control totally when updates happen. If you say that, then you need to have the IT people and infrastructure to have the systems on premises to be able to manage that. If you're going to be in the cloud, if you made the decision, we don't want to have an IT organization, and you're in the cloud, then there are some potential intermediate ways that you can control that. You can have software that's sitting on the cloud that is controlled by you. In essence, when controlled means you get to decide when it gets updated.
Right.
But then you can have the software as a service platform solutions like a Salesforce or like others where the provider decides when things are going to get updated.
Yeah.
And then you have to go along with that. Microsoft is that way, right? If you're using their Office 365 or any of their platforms online, they get to decide when the updates happen. And if they're good, they'll give you enough time to understand, well, all right, we're doing an update on this day. You need to get ready for that.
Right. And here's what it entails.
And here's what that entails. For large organizations, there are groups formed around those updates to get the organization ready for the updated change.
Right.
So it's good as an organization to have an understanding of those options that you have going into doing digital transformation, so you know which technologies are going to work best for you.
Right. Yeah, and you've got to keep up with the updates because it's constantly evolving.
Right.
And you could be working in an old platform where some things might not function anymore.
Or you could have security breaches on the current version, and the updates will plug those holes for you.
I mean, speaking about security breaches, I mean, oh my God, last week I think was a nightmare week for a lot of companies. Twitter confirmed that, they were breached.
They were breached, right.
Twilio's employees got a lot of text messages where hackers were trying to get employee credentials.
Right.
I mean, the list is long. Last week was a really bad week, but I think this kind of loops into what we're talking about is the importance of staying up to date with technology, because I hate to say this, but it's happening. The cyber criminals are staying up to date with technology, and they're finding creative and innovative methods to penetrate these systems. And I just mentioned big tech companies, right? Companies that you would think have a brick wall that no one can get through. So those vulnerabilities should let people know the importance of staying up to date with technology. That's why digital transformation is so important.
Yeah, and you absolutely need to have a security focus these days. And decades ago when I started in technology, you didn't have to have such a security focus. But now, as you said, these hackers, these cyber attackers, they live for getting into systems.
Yeah.
They make money off of getting into systems. So everyone really needs to have a real focus. If you don't have a person in-house who's focusing on cybersecurity, you need to make sure that your providers have a real focus on security. And we know that, as you said about the breaches, even the technology companies get breached,
Oh, yeah.
right? And we shouldn't be surprised at that. But having a focus at least minimizes the impact of those breaches.
Right. Right. And do you think organizations need to have that one POC, the point of contact, who is their tech person?
So you need to have one POC who's your tech person. I'd say yes.
Yeah.
And well, let me back up. You need to have one point of contact. Whether it's a single person or not
Right.
may be different because
It could be a team.
It could be a team.
Yeah.
So you always do want to have a team you can go to, or at least a contact to go to say, please help us to make sure that we are secure.
Right.
And they'll be experts in technology, so they'll be able to answer questions you probably can't answer, or ask questions you wouldn't know to ask. But they're also an outside person. They don't know the intricacies of your organization. And we know that we get blinded by our own knowledge about organizations. So having someone from the outside be able to look in and say, oh, this is how you operate.
Right.
Do you really know you're doing this?
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize I was doing this.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that's secure as well.
Yeah. So some people have an internal IT people or their tech department. So you recommend having somebody who might be on the outside, like outsource?
Well, it depends on whether you really want to have an what internal IT presence you want.
Got it.
You could have one IT person inside who takes care of everything for you. And that person will probably not be an expert in everything. So will need to rely on someone from the outside.
Right.
But there are these managed service providers who provide that kind of service and capability for you, so you don't have to have on your payroll an IT person.
Yeah.
Your payroll is really that MSP, that managed service provider.
Right. And we've seen an increase of that, managed service providers.
Huge increase in
thanks to
MSPs.
COVID, we're seeing an increase with a lot.
A lot of things, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what is the one takeaway? Because, one of the reasons why I created this show was to really put a spotlight on technology, especially tech happening right here in New Hampshire. I guess what is the one piece of advice that you can give for an organization that's looking, to implement technology, but they don't know where to start?
I'd say to read up on technology.
Yeah.
Learn about the benefits of technology, like we're talking here about what are the benefits of digital transformation. Learn about what the general steps are in digital transformation. And then seek out maybe insights from an association that your organization is part of. How have others in that industry leveraged technology?
Right.
Learn from them. Don't go on your own assuming no one's done this before.
Right.
Because it's been done before. So learn from others is, I guess, another.
Learn from others, and don't necessarily just buy the first technology
Don't buy
that
the
you
first
see.
technology.
Take the time to, I think, have a checklist. Have a
that
checklist of your must-have, your top priorities, your low priorities, and then invite various vendors and ask the questions and see who is going to be the best fit for you.
And you might actually bring someone in to run that search process for your technology, who knows how to get from you what are the right questions, what are the right sets of criteria to use to evaluate the technology.
Right, and there are people who do that. They're tech consultants. They make a living off helping companies buy tech. They'll ask you the questions you need, and then they'll go out there and do the shopping, and they bring it on a platter and say, I have A, B, C, D. Here are the options for you.
Right.
So, but it's been great having you here. What an honor. And digital transformation, it's going on now. There are some successes and there are some failures, and I think you laid out some really fantastic steps as to how we can kind of move more on the side of success versus failure. But don't be afraid to fail. It happens.
It happens. And you learn from those failures.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you might think a tech is right for you the first time around. And as you use it, you learn that, no, actually, this doesn't work.
Right.
So.
And don't be afraid to change.
Don't be afraid to change. So, James, it was great having you here again.
Thank you, Flo.
You are welcome back anytime. And I hope you learned a lot about digital transformation. It's happening. Don't be afraid of technology. Hey, continue watching Get Tech Smart, and you actually will probably learn a lot more about how to take the steps to implement and adopt technology. So thank you so much for watching another episode of Get Tech Smart.